Hi, thanks for joining us for another QPR discussion. I'm here with West London Sports' Ian McCullough, Ben Kosky and former QPR striker Kevin Gallen. We're filming this the day after QPR's 1-0, really impressive actually, 1-0 win over Swansea. Another really positive performance and result, Kev, and I suppose especially with Ilias and Chris Willock and some of the football they were playing, the way they were linking up behind the man in form who can't stop scoring again, Lyndon Dykes. And I suppose it's just really encouraging to see him having a real go at the end of the year, despite, not really any danger of relegation. Probably playoffs are a bit too far off, but still putting in some really good performances like that.
Yeah, very good performance, especially the second half. We came out. I mean, the first half was, we hit the post twice. They hit the post once. They had some good opportunities to score. We went in 0-0. But the second half performance dominated the game, dominated the ball. They really, at some stage, couldn't really get out of their half. And when they did, it was just sort of a long ball to hit a counter-attack where our centre-halves picked the ball up again and started another wave of attacks. And, and Lyndon Dykes is a man on form. We said it 6 weeks ago, he probably wouldn't have been able to control that ball, let alone control it and score. And you can just see it was a very sort of a similar sort of type of goal to the goal we scored against Rotherham away, where he's literally just took a touch and he hasn't even looked at the goal and he's just blasted it low and hard. And a great finish from him. And, he really has turned it around in the last 6 weeks to 2 months, and you've got to give him all the credit. Really good performance. Johansson again was sublime, passing it around, dictating the game. Willock had a very good game, creating all sorts of problems. Chair was good in the first half, faded a little bit in the second half. But, on the second half performance, I thought we thoroughly deserved the win.
Yeah, do you think that's helped Lyndon Dykes a bit? Because obviously Charlie Austin came back off the bench yesterday, but the fact that he's got those two creative players alongside him in Willock and Chair who look like they're getting more comfortable every game. Like, I don't know if you ever had it when you played, those sort of types of players that played in. No.
I'm
joking. How much does it help a striker having those kind of guys?
So they're sort of playing a little bit different when they're sort of playing with, as you say, maybe two number 10s, sort of. So Lyndon Dykes, the number 9, the centre forward, and Ilias Chair's just slightly to the left of him, behind supporting, and Willock is to the right, and it's really working. It's they got up there at the moment with Willock and Dykes, a lot of mobility. They can run, they can stretch. Lyndon Dykes can stretch the defence, and Willock can run past people. He's got good power and strength, and he looks a good player at the moment. He's doing really well. Ilias Chair, I always feel he's a little bit predictable because when he comes in off the left, he's always coming inside to his right to get a shot off. Sometimes I think he needs to, back himself and go down on his left side and try and get a shot off, because it's a little bit predictable. I'm saying when he's on, when I'm watching him last night, he's going to come in on his right. He's going to come in on his right, and I'm sure the opposition will be highlighting that and say that Ilias Chair is coming in from the left. He wants to come in onto his right foot and get shots off. So you've got to block that and be very aware of that. And they did last night, especially first half. They got some good blocks on him. But no, Lyndon Dykes, like I said, is having an impressive last 6 weeks, and so is Willock, and a lot of mobility, a lot of skill, and now finishing to go with that, and finishing off, half chances and chances that need to be scored. Lyndon Dykes is doing it at the moment, and can't give him enough praise at this moment in time.
Just something else I want to talk about before we move on to our main topic. I'll come to you on this, Ian. Just something after the game report came out about Mark Warburton potentially with this FA assistant technical director role that he'd been lined up for, but I mean, they didn't take the club long and they came up straight away and rubbished the report. And regardless of where it's come from, you imagine it came from somewhere. Obviously, the journalist involved didn't just pluck it out of thin air, you'd hope. But as far as QPR are concerned, just really positive that they've come out and categorically denied it straight away. And it looks like Mark Warburton's, at least near-term future, is going to be at QPR. And as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago in our video about him deserving a third season at the club, just positive that it looks like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, the story in the Sun is the guy who wrote is a good mate of mine, Duncan Wright, and he's got good connections at the FA. So there's obviously something has been said, but Rangers have come flat about it straight away. So you think that's probably killed it stone dead. But I think it was Ben that mentioned it a few weeks ago that how Rangers they might struggle to keep hold of Mark Warburton given the good form this season. So maybe. Maybe other clubs might start sniffing around and looking at him, and QPR being 8th from where they were. It's been a phenomenal, achievement really. I mean, all right, they're not going up, and they're not going to win anything, but really from where they were to where they are now, and the football they're playing, it's been last night was a joy to watch. That first half was just, I don't think I've enjoyed a game of football other than QPR for a long time like that. Just two good sides that are trying to knock the ball around and play proper football. It's a really good game, and second half Rangers were terrific. They really, Willock's become, he's just developed, he's got stronger and, smarter, and they obviously work with him on the training field to kind of improve him, and you're seeing that. But yeah, no, as with Warburton, he deserves, a hell of a lot of credit for, what we're seeing now, and, keeping faith with goal machine, Lyndon Dykes. I mean, no one ever doubted him, did we?
Never in doubt.
But it's just that, isn't it? And even with Lee Wallace, he's taking pelters for picking Wallace, but he's proven a lot of people wrong, and that takes quite a strong manager to kind of stick with your courage, of your convictions. And he's been accused in the past of fans of other clubs for not having a plan B, etc., etc. Where you can not have a plan B, or you just kind of believe in what you're saying and how you want to play and go along with it. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself about the game last night. Like, if it finishes 0-0, it's probably the most entertaining 0-0 I would have seen for a while. But yeah, luckily Dykes got the finish again. I want to come on to the main kind of thing I had in mind for us to talk about today. I think 4 games left, I'm right in saying, the season now. So I thought it was quite a good time to maybe talk about our player of the season candidates and who we might have down as our player of the season. So I'll start with you, Ben. I'll put a message in our little chat and ask you, Kev, about who we'd have as our player of the season candidates, and you all came back and you differed in who you would actually have, but one name you mentioned that we should talk about is Seny Dieng. And Ben, I know you had him down as your player of the season. I'll just read you some of the stats he's got this year. He's had 10 clean sheets, which is quite impressive. QPR as a team have made 121 saves, and obviously they're not all from Dieng, but the large amount of them would be, which is the second most in the league, so it's pretty high. He's been a busy goalkeeper this year, certainly. And I suppose he's just brought a lot of stability, hasn't he, to the team? Last year we had to watch Joe Lumley make quite a few mistakes and it cost the team. And Liam Kelly came in and did okay, but made a couple of himself. And he's just brought a lot of confidence and stability to the team.
Yeah, I just think it's been one of the big success stories of this season, really. I mean, he started the season, let's not forget, as third choice goalkeeper on paper anyway. And within a few games he was in. I mean, those stats you read were quite interesting, Dan, because I think that just underlines how quite often Dieng has just kept QPR in games by himself, with some of the saves he's made. But not just the saves. I mean, you look at different attributes for a goalkeeper, and some keepers you say, well, maybe he's not so good on crosses, or this one's positioning's a bit suspect. He doesn't distribute the ball all that well. I've got to say, I don't see any obvious weaknesses in Dieng's game. He seems to do it all pretty well, and I think what has been noticeable is just the confidence that the defence have taken from playing behind him as the season has gone on. I think you really can't underestimate that, and I don't think it's any coincidence that you look at the upturn in the second half of the season, and obviously the loan signings in January have played a big part. But for me, part of it has been Dieng kind of growing into that role as the number one keeper, and just really, really looking the part. So I think, although there are other candidates, for me, he is an obvious player of the year for the performances he's put in this season.
Yeah, do you echo those thoughts as well, Kev? Because I mean, he was the kind of name you came back to me with as well. Is that who you'd have down as your player of the year if you had to pick one?
Yeah, well, I think for me, he would just edge it. I mean, Rob Dickey's done really well, like coming into a new club, coming in from a league below and settled really well. It's helped Rob Dickey. I'm just going to talk about Rob Dickey. It's helped Rob Dickey that Seny Dieng has been behind him. It's also helped Rob Dickey that the manager changed formation to 3 at the back. And even Barbe, since that change of formation, has improved immensely. But Seny Dieng, yeah, I think I would probably give it to Seny Dieng, because last season the goalkeeping situation, the goalie situation, was a bit of a problem. There was chopping and changing. No one really held that position to their own, because they kept making mistakes and goals, cheap goals, kept going in. But we have to say that Seny Dieng this season can't really think of any real cheap goals given away.
I mean, he had the red card, didn't he, the other week? But that was the only thing I can really think of that he's done wrong this year. And even that, you could say, maybe not all his fault.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but he might have been concussed making that great save in the first half. So.
Broken nose, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Did he break his nose? He was broken.
Yeah.
Seny Dieng's been very solid, and Ben just said it. You can't see a real weakness in his game, and he's right. He's very calm. He comes to crosses, and more importantly, he's made saves at crucial times to keep QPR in the game, and he's sort of stepped up when he needed to. And for me, I would say throughout the season, consistency and just, man of the match awards, I would say Seny Dieng.
Yeah, and you mentioned Rob Dickey there, and I think, Ian, you would probably side with Rob Dickey if I'm right. I mean, he's had a really solid first year in the Championship, hasn't he? I mean, especially when he's coming in aerially, he's really dominant, doesn't really look like he's ever going to lose like an aerial duel. And like Kev said, he's really settled into that back three well. And I can think of a couple of mistakes he's made, but I suppose that comes as a defender, that comes with it, doesn't it? And I suppose you'll iron those out as he gets older as well. But you've spoken on here before about how impressed you've been with him, and would he be your vote if you had to pick one?
Yeah, he's been very good. It's really at him and Dieng. I probably would, being an old centre half in my heady career of Ealing Schools under 11s, 25-minute sub. I would normally go with the centre back, but you
look like you were a very quick centre half.
Milk tone quicker. But I just was thinking, I mean, Rob Dickey, centre halves that are scoring from 30 yards. You don't see that very often, do you? That was a hell of a strike against Middlesbrough. He has been magnificent this year. He has, but I'm just thinking with Dieng, some of the saves he made this season to win games. I think if you go back to the start of the season, they played against Coventry, and it was actually the game that Joe Lumley got axed from afterwards, and they lost that game 3-2, and a game they should have won. One where he's beating it his near post, and another one where they conceded from a very very defendable corner. Since Dieng's gone in goal, you're seeing less and less of those goals. He really does dominate that box. He comes out, takes crosses, but just I'll go back to the Luton game. The Luton game at Kenilworth Road was probably the turning point for Rangers this season. They got a win there. When the score's 1-0, Dieng made a fantastic save. Where he's gone through a crowded body of the legs, and he's got down and tipped it around the post. Had that gone in, Rangers draw that game 1-1. It could be, I think 2 minutes later, Bond went up and scored, win 2-0. Things like that, just little sliding doors moments. And, I can't remember every single great save he's made this season, but at no stage in the season have you felt that keeper has got a rick in him. He's confident when he comes out. He's commands his box superbly. He's very good with the ball at his feet. And they've kind of stumbled across him. I was talking to someone a few months ago who used to work at QPR, and Dieng, he said, you never would have guessed, you never said 3 years ago Dieng would be first choice keeper. He was more worried about getting his photo taken after training, how do I look in training? And I think the loan move to Doncaster has really benefited him, playing in a very highly competitive, league with a side pushing for promotion. That's really benefited him, and he's come back and, like Rob Dickey stepping up from League One. into a championship and doing so well. You know, they deserve both enormous credit. And, you know, that spine of a team is everything you need. Good goalkeeper, good centre-half. You know, Barbe as well has done very well since the turn of the year. And you get those things sorted at the back of, you know, if you're good at the back, you kind of, you can build that to go forward and be good from the front. And hopefully they can keep hold of Dieng and Dickey, because, you know, the way they played this season, you kind of think the clubs are going to be sniffing around for them.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like you've talked yourself into Senny Dieng getting your vote for the award instead of Rob Dickey there.
Just about, I think.
Yeah, change your mind from earlier this afternoon. That's what happens. See, it's the power of Ben and Kev, their punditry. You know, it's won you over. You mentioned Johan Barbet there as well, and I want to touch on him as well. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if he's done quite enough to win the award, but I think the case for him is he's played every minute of every game. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying this year, which is pretty incredible, isn't it? Especially this season, coming off the back of the last one that was affected by COVID, and there wasn't a very long break in between them. So it's pretty impressive. And yeah, his form's dipped a little bit recently, which I don't think would do his case any favours. But I mean, Kev, do you think he at least deserves to be in the conversation this season?
Barbet's done well, especially, I mean, those stats, what you said, he's played every minute. That's very impressive. To be out on the pitch, fit and available, is very impressive. Especially when the games have come thick and fast. You know, some stages Saturday, Tuesday. So he has his performance levels has been good, especially since we went free at the back. There's no doubt about that, and he should be in the conversation. But we have to go. I mean, if we were just talking about from January onwards, we'd be talking about Johansson as well, wouldn't we? Because he's been excellent. I don't think he's dropped below a 7, has he? 7 out of 10. The consistency from him has been absolutely different class. So I just feel when we were playing a flat back 4, you know, Barbe was a little bit shaky, and that's why I would. But he has done really well since the change of formation and the turn of the year. I just feel, you know, you've got to go over the whole season, and I just feel that Senny Dieng, since he's come into the team, has performed so consistently and so well that then he would be my choice for player of the season.
Yeah, it's funny you mention Johansson, because I was going to touch on him in a minute. I was going to say that as well. I mean, if you're picking a QPR player based on the most consistent performances they've put in this season and what they've contributed to the team, I mean, maybe Johansson should be considered, but the thing is, he's only been there since January. So can you really give the player of the season award to someone who's, I mean, have you ever heard of that, Kev? Someone getting the award when they've only been there for like a few months? Or
No. I mean, you couldn't do that, really.
And he's a Fulham loanee as well. I don't think, would they want to give it to a Fulham loanee?
Maybe if you want to keep him, we might have to sweet talk him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There was always rumours that Mark Kennedy won Player of the Year after a 6-week loan spell.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that says a lot about the rest of us.
I think they gave it to Carl Reddy in the end. That summed up that season.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think Mark Kennedy won it for that shot against Middlesbrough, if I remember rightly. 5-0, I think.
Yeah, he didn't win it, but he was very impressive.
Johansson's been different class. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if we can get hold of him for next season or for the next couple of seasons, I think we'll be, you know, on our way. He's just like a Rolls Royce in midfield. And I look at Fulham and I'm thinking to myself, they must have some midfield if he can't even get in their squad.
Yeah.
Very strange one. Let's hope. I mean, Fulham looks like they're going to go down, and it'd be interesting to see what happens. New manager comes in at Fulham. If they get relegated, you don't know. They might want to keep him. So, what do I want? Do I want Johansson or Fulham to go down? It's a difficult one.
I think one of the interesting factors as well, Kev, is that if you look at Fulham's midfield, they've got an awful lot of players in who are on loan, and you would assume players who won't stay if they're relegated. So that may free up, let's hope not, that may free up a space in their squad for Johansson if they're in the Championship next season. But it is a tough one, isn't it? You kind of feel if Fulham stayed up, no question, Johansson's surplus to requirements. go down. It's a little bit more 50-50 perhaps.
Yeah. I think someone else that deserves a mention as well probably is Ilias Chair. I think he's improved a lot since last season. He's scored 8 goals. He's got 3 assists this year. Okay, the assist numbers aren't great, but as we've said before, it's, you're dependent on someone putting the ball in the back of the net, which has not always happened this season. But I think he's kind of goes under the radar a little bit sometimes. He's almost like the creative spark, isn't he? Between just behind the strikers. And he has been a regular in the team as well, because I remember last season he sort of got taken out for a bit and Mark Warburton was using him quite carefully, but I'm pretty sure he's played 42 of 43 this year and he's not started everyone. He's just appeared in those games, but still pretty impressive. Ben, do you think he deserves a mention as well?
Yeah, I think he does deserve a mention. As you say, Dan, he's had a good season, and you've got to keep in mind as well that there was perhaps a bit of a burden on him with Eze having left last summer, and obviously Bright to say Samuel, well, his situation such that he wasn't playing at times before he eventually left. So there was that burden on Chair to sort of do it all in creative terms, to be the playmaker, to be the man who makes things happen. And I agree with you. He's done it pretty well. I would just say, I think that given some of the other players they've had in there this season, people like Chris Willock, who've been able to do that as well, that maybe his role perhaps has not been as essential as Dieng and Dickey, and then latterly Stefan Johansson as well. But I think you are right, and I'm not actually sure what the rules are about young player of the year, what age you have to be to qualify for that, but he's probably still young enough that he would qualify for that, I would think.
Yeah, I imagine he probably is. Yeah, maybe he's not done quite enough, especially maybe in the first half of the season where he dipped for a little bit and didn't get a goal or assist for a while. Maybe that's not done him too many favours, but yeah, certainly deserves a mention. Good to chat through as well with a former winner of the award himself as well in the chat, Kevin Gallen, 2003 QPR Player of the Season, runner-up in 2004, I'm told. Couldn't do the double.
Graceful decision. Get the double. Unbelievable.
Right, we'll move on to our predictions then. Interesting game, kind of this one, because obviously Norwich have confirmed their promotion already. They're still going for the championship title, so you imagine they're still be very keen on putting a full strength team out and going for it. And they've sort of dipped the last and lost the last couple of games. Ian, what do you think about this one? Obviously Norwich losing the last couple of games. Does that give QPR a bit more of a chance, or do you expect Norwich to kind of blow them away a little bit?
I don't know. They've probably been on the cans for the last 2 weeks.
I think they have.
I think the fact they've lost the last 2 doesn't bode well for Saturday. I think they're not going to be keen to lose 3 in a row. Yeah, but no reason why Rangers can't take any points off them. I mean, the record against the top 6 this year has been brilliant, really. I mean, only Barnsley have beaten them twice. They've taken points off everyone else who's currently in the top 6. Yeah, I mean, it'd be good to see how they play against, a Norwich side that, are very easy on the eye. They play a style of football that QPR want to play with. But, I kind of feel with this team on a decent pitch, teams that want to play football, you fancy Rangers could give it on a game. So I think it'd be a really, really, really good test for them. But yeah, I don't see why I can't get anything out of it. Maybe another 1-1 draw.
Yeah, Kev, what are you saying for this one?
Yeah, I agree, Ian. Nice pitch. Weather's getting nice. They play sort of a similar style of football to us. They want to pass it through the back into midfield. It's one of those games where it could just, and a lot of football games are very tight, and just whoever scores that first goal or whoever finishes off that chance that they create and are more clinical will win. QPR will be desperate, I think, to beat Norwich, just to sort of say, look how far we've come in the last 4 or 5 months. They've got promoted. They're the best team at the moment in the championship. They're top. Are we as good as them? That's how I would be feeling if I was in the QPR team playing Norwich. I'd be thinking, they're the best team in the league. Let's go and test ourselves. Excuse me. I am going to go for a 2-1 QPR win.
Ooh. Ben, you feeling optimistic?
And I'm like a bit of... Who was last week said we're going to lose at Middlesbrough? Is that you, Ben, or was it you, Ian?
No, I went for a draw.
I said 0-0, I think.
I said 2-1.
Are you feeling optimistic this week, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think as Kevin and Ian have said, it's one of those games that's hard to predict, and Norwich certainly won't want 3 losses on the bounce. But I think there'll be goals in it. I mean, one thing about Norwich is, you know, they've been one of the best attacking sides at this level over the last few years. Their defensive capability perhaps a little bit less, and that was exposed when they went into the Premier League last year. I suspect it may be again unless they change the personnel, but I think there'll be goals in it. And I'm going to say a draw. I'm going to say 2-2 in this one.
I don't want to be the only one that predicts a QPR loss, but I think I might have to do it just in case they do lose and one of us has got it right, you know. I've got a lot of Norwich supporting mates as well, so I'm sure they'll be pretty pleased with that. I think Norwich might win it 2-1. I think they'll still really be keen on actually confirming the title after the season they've had. I'd also have Seny Dieng as my player of the year as well. So, Ian, I thought you were going to be the one to disagree and we could have a bit of an argument, but never mind. We're all in agreement. So I just think that was the position that they most needed to fix from last season, and he's done that job excellently, I think. So I think he fully deserves it. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back again next week.